Hey guys, it's Landon Blake from Redefined Horizons, and this is the third video in the little set of videos I'm doing that shows how I prepare my field crews for a field survey. And my company, this is what we call prepping a field package, and I try on every job to send my crew out with an 11 by 17 exhibit. So in this case, they're doing a little topo survey. That exhibit is called a topo survey plan. So if you remember in the last video, we added the mapping limits, the boundary of the mapping limits for the topo to this exhibit and dropped in this little leader. So what I want to do now is I want to go ahead and edit this text. I'm just going to start over here on the left and move to the right. And the reason I'm going to do that is that'll leave the instructions for the last. And this list of instructions always gets customized depending on the job. So we'll do that last. So I'm just going to zoom in here on this part. And first thing I'm going to do is pull open the layers dialog, and we're going to unlock, I'm going to lock that street name label layer. We don't need that. So I got the layer dialog open, just lock the layer name for the, or the layer, excuse me, for the street name labels since we're done with those. And I'm going to unlock the regular text and the title text layers since we're editing text now. So the first thing I want to do is edit this job number. So I have a new job number. So I'll enter that. And I'm going to put in today's date, the date that we're preparing the package. So March 7th. This is the first version of the exhibit. I'm the one that's preparing it, so that can stay the same. This is the mapping area. And I try and just give the crew a short description so they have an idea where they're headed. So in this case, what I'm going to use actually is the address of the parcel. So I'm going to go ahead and enter that here. This is over in Elmira, California. Okay, so that's done. Go ahead and hit save. You always want to save frequently because Inkscape can be a little bit buggy. Sometimes it'll crash on you. They've done a good job in the latest versions of saving a backup file when it crashes, but save your work frequently. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I just want to give the indication, give the field crew an indication of where I think we should have some control. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here, and I, ultimately I leave the judgment of where to place control up to the field crew, but I'd like to give them an idea. So I'm going to go ahead and pull open my layers dialog, and we're going to lock the text layers for now, and we're going to unlock the shape arrows layer. And I've got this other little arrowhead symbol here. I'm going to pull up. So I think we can get a couple monuments in here next to the road, and we're gonna static GPS these, or let's see here. We're gonna use GPS to tie these out, so I want to make sure that that I've got something that looks fairly open. Turn my snaps back on here. So I think we can get an azimuth pair here along the road. And I'm just going to ungroup these now. Oop. Those are set up as a group, so I'm just going to ungroup those so I can edit the text. And we're going to call this one. All right, I'm going to call this one number 3 because I've already got a number 1 over here. And I just number these arrowhead symbols sequentially. And then this one over here we'll ungroup, and we'll edit this text. This number 1 is going to be number 2. And then we want to center that text up. And actually, if you do this right and set your font to centered, then when you edit that text, you don't have to recenter it all the time. So I'm going to just pull open my align and distribute dialog, and we'll get these centered up. and then I'm going to turn them into groups again, just so they're easier to move around that way. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and have them set a couple more points up here. But let's see. Just taking a look here. I need some aerial targets and I need some more control points. So I'm going to grab this again. And I'm just going to say edit, duplicate. And then I'm going to pull this up. And I think the guys are probably going to need a point there. And hopefully they can see across this field line of sight. We'll put another point right here. Okay, and then I'm going to ungroup those. And we're going to call this point number 4. Now you can see now that I properly justified that text, I don't have to recenter those labels when I edit them. And we'll call that point number 5. Okay, now these 3 points here will also be able to serve as aerial targets. We're doing an aerial survey as well. This one's a little too far out of the mapping limits, but I want to try and have at least 5 targets here. So we want to set some other target points. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm actually going to grab this shape right here, and I'm going to duplicate it. This should be a group too. So we'll group that. And I'm going to rotate this 45 degrees because I want to just have a square shape. So we'll go to Object, Transform, Rotate 45 degrees. Okay. And then I'm going to give that a different color. So I'll use this blue color I've got here. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this hex code right here. And paste it in. Okay, so I'm going to tell the guys, looks like we can get a painted target in here if the trees are far enough back. And we'll try and get one more up here in this corner. Okay. And I need those numbers. So I'm going to grab that number 4 there. And we'll duplicate that. I keep hitting the Control D. Sorry about that. You guys can't see that. Or you just go to Edit, Duplicate on the menu. And we'll drag that down. Duplicate it one more time. Drag it down. And we're going to call this, edit this text. And we're going to call this number 6. And we'll call this number 7. And we'll line this up. This number 6 needs to get centered. Okay. And I'm going to change that color. It makes it a little easier. So what I'm trying to do here is just indicate to the guys that these points here are just aerial targets. They're not control for conventional work. Actually, you know what? As I'm looking at this, we may try and get some hardscape shots in here. So this will probably be a total station control point too. So I'm actually going to delete that, and we're going to make this a circle symbol. And then we'll turn that into a group. Okay. All right, and we're gonna throw a different color on that. This one over here because it's an aerial target only. So I'm gonna grab this shape and we'll pull up the fill and stroke dialog, and I'll throw this bright blue in here. Just grabbing this off that Adobe color wheel again. Okay, and we'll go ahead and group that. Okay. So now I've got symbols placed for my control points and my aerial targets. And what I want to do now is add the arrow shafts or the leader lines in, and we'll pull them over here to these boxes. Okay. Before we do that, I'm going to actually make this a different color too, because this is going to be the only one that doesn't get a GPS coordinate on it, more than likely. So I'm going to just drop in another color from that color wheel. We'll see if this color stands out. Yeah, that's not a really good color, so let's try. I got a bright red over here that'll work. You can see that. Alright, so we'll group that again. Okay, so I'm at a little over 11 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and stop this video. In the next video, we'll add our arrow shafts or leader lines, and we'll go ahead and edit this text, okay? So thanks for watching, and hope you catch the next video in the set.